Hello everyone, grade 3. Our session today will be about multiplication in any order or the commutative property of multiplication. Okay, if you look at this array, can you tell me how many rows in this array? Excellent, there's 2 rows in this array. How many columns? 3 columns. Okay, the total number of balls is 3 times 3. The number of rows, tell me how many times I add the number of columns. The number of columns I add to itself 2 times. So the result will be 6. But what if I make an array then and switch the number of column by the number of rows and vice versa? So the number of rows will be 3 and the number of column will be 2. I want the total number of this array, so I will add 2 to itself 3 times. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. Okay, notice that when I switch the number of columns and the number of rows, the result is still the same, which is 6. So if I write the multiplication uh, operation of this array, it will be 2 times 3 equals 6. Okay, if I write the multiplication operation of this array, it will be 3 times 2 equals 6. Okay, notice something. The result here is still the same, so I can conclude that 2 times 3 equals times 3 equal 3 times 2 equals 6. And this is the commutative property of the multiplication. I can switch the two factors. I can switch the two factors of the multiplication. This 3 and 2, they are two factors. The first number, of course, represent how many rows or how many times I repeat addition. The second number represents the items inside the array or inside the row. Okay, look at this array. Can you tell me how many rows and how many items inside each row? Remember what we studied the last session and the session before. Okay, I guess you'll find out the answer. 5 rows of 2. 5 stand for how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And each row has 2 elements or 2 flowers. Can express that using multiplication. 5 times 2 equals 10, which means I repeat the 2 elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 10. And the first number stands for how many times I repeat or how many rows. The second number stands for how many columns or how many items inside each row. Okay, if I reverse this array, can you tell me the number of rows and the number of columns of items inside each row? Yes, that's right. I have 2 rows of 5. two rows, each row have 5 flowers. Using multiplication, it will be 2 times 5 equals 9. Okay, ask myself here why I write 2 times 5. 2 stand for how many rows. 5 stand for the column, how many items inside each row. And they are equal 10 because I add the 5 to itself 2 times. Now I want to conclude this commutative property of multiplication using groups. Okay, now I have 3 groups. Each group has excellent 4 items. Okay, 3 groups or 4 items, or 3 groups 4. I want to know the total number of items using repeated addition, so I will take the number of items and I add it to itself 3 times because the number of groups is 3. 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. So 3 times 4 equals 12. I add 4 to itself 3 times. The first number stands for how many groups? 1, 2, and 3. 3 groups. The second number stands for or represents how many items inside each row. The result, of course, will be 12. So here I reverse the number of columns, I reverse the number of groups by the number of items. Here I have 4 groups of 3 items. I want to know the total number of items. I add the number of items inside one group to itself. But how many times? How many times equal the number of groups? So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, 4 times equals 12. So 4 times 3 equals 12. And the first number, of course, stands for how many groups or how many times I repeat the items. The second number stands for excellent, stand for how many items inside each group. And the result, of course, will be 12. Okay, try it by yourself. Can you tell me how many groups and how many items inside each group? Great. I have 4 groups and 4 groups of 2. 4 groups of 2 means I have 4 groups and each group has 2 items. So 4 times 2 equals 8. But why I say that? Why 4 times 2 equal 8? Because I add the number 2. The number 2 to itself 4 times. The result, of course, will be 8. Here, how many groups I have? Great. 2 groups. 2 groups of what? Great. Of 4. So, I write that in my multiplication form. 2 times 4 equals 8. I have 4 items in each group. I repeated the number 4 2 times. And of course 4 plus 4 equals 8. Now we can conclude that the commutative property satisfying using groups either Commutative property means I can switch these two numbers. I can switch between them. If you see the shaded part, the two shaded parts, I switch between the two numbers 4 and 2. That's it.